Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Mind Over Habit, where we explore the stories, experiences, and mindset shifts that challenge us to live with greater purpose, courage, and authenticity. Today's guest is Sherman Melton, leadership coach, entrepreneur, author, and advocate for authentic leadership. From growing up surrounded by poverty, violence, and uncertainty, to becoming a self-made, debt-free millionaire. Chapman has built a life defined by resilience and courage. Today, he is on a mission to address the silent epidemic of loneliness among accomplished black men and help leaders reconnect with who they truly are. Chairman, welcome to the show.
Yes, Moses, glad to be here. Shermain here. Glad to be here. Yes.
All right. Can you also talk about yourself briefly?
Yeah. So my name is Shermain Melton. I'm based in Arizona, so in Phoenix, Arizona, which is a desert here in the Southwest. I am an executive leadership coach and trusted advisor, and my impossible mission is to solve loneliness for 8 billion people. And my focus right now is on accomplished black men who know the struggles and the loneliness of leading in a white world.
Okay. So, Martin, you describe yourself as black, accomplished, gay, and Christian. When did you stop seeing those identities as a competing with each other and start seeing them as your strength?
Yeah. Thank you. That's a great question. I don't see them as competing. I do see them as strengths. I don't think they compete with each other. They are pieces of who I am. I'm black, I'm accomplished, I'm gay. These all connect to who I am.
Okay. You spent 24 years hiding a major part of who you were. What finally convinced you that authenticity was worth the risk?
Yeah. Um that authenticity is worth the risk. So I hid a part of who I was for over 24 years because I was afraid that if people knew that I was gay, it would negatively affect my career, and negatively affect my relationships. And I got to a point in my life where I was tired of hiding, and I decided that I would much rather be accepted for who I am. Actually, let me flip that. I would much rather be rejected for being myself, for being who I am, than to be accepted for being someone else, for showing a version of who I'm not.
Okay. You have said that loneliness is killing accomplished black men in silence. Why do you believe this issue is so widespread yet rarely discussed?
Yeah. Why do I feel loneliness is so widespread and it's not discussed? So one of the reasons, so one of the things, let me start off is I believe we are in the midst of a loneliness epidemic. So especially now with AI, with the pandemic, I believe that there's a lot more loneliness now. Um, I think that to answer your question around sort of why isn't it discussed, there's shame around loneliness. And I felt shame around experiencing loneliness. And I felt shame around talking about it because I grew up in a space where we didn't talk about those things. And so I think that that's one of the reasons people don't talk about it. It's because there's shame surrounding it. It is not modeled, so people don't talk about this, and so it is sort of taboo. And this is this loneliness leads to things like suicide in the community.
Okay. Barton, you walked away from a successful career at American Express. What made you realize that fixing people was more important than fixing networks?
Yeah, I got to a point where I wanted to make a bigger impact in the world. I got to a point where I realized, you know, I could make money, and I had a successful technology career, and I could have stayed there and done well for myself. But I wanted to make a bigger impact in the world. I wanted to do more work. I wanted to be on purpose. I wanted to do work that mattered. I wanted to do something that was actually difficult, and I wanted to be able to smile at the end of the day, having put in really a hard day.
Hmm. Okay, you often speak about loneliness and accomplishment. Why is this issue really discussed openly?
Yeah, why is loneliness among accomplished black men rarely discussed? I think there's a part of it is accomplished black men don't see it's not discussed. It's taboo. So loneliness is something that is not discussed. It's kept hush hush, and the more successful you become, the lonelier it gets. In most organizations here in the U.S., the higher you rise, the more of the majority culture exists. The less minorities there are, and it gets really lonely. I was talking to a senior leader at an organization, and he had been at that organization, I want to say 15 years, and he told me that he only had one person at that organization that he felt that he could really be himself with. And this is someone who is at the VP level. There, he could only be himself with one person. And he spoke about how lonely that felt for him. And his story is the reason that I do what I do.
Many successful people looked confident on the outside but struggle internally. What are some signs that someone is suffering from loneliness despite appearing successful?
Yeah, signs of loneliness. It's really difficult to see because there are people. Um, some people learned how to disguise it really well, um, and it's different for everyone. And so, what I found is there's no one thing. But what I one of the things I found is to to take the time and ask people how they're really doing. You've got to create an environment where people feel safe, where people feel like they're not going to be judged. They're not going to have fingers pointed at them. They're not going to be seen as less than by opening up. Part of the challenge with loneliness, people will self isolate. They will shut down. They will hold back, or they will wear these different sets of masks. They'll put on different masks and be whoever they need to be. They'll smile. They will make it look like everything is fine. And the one question you can ask them is, how are you really doing? And make it safe for them to genuinely answer that question.
Okay, you often talked about courage. What is the biggest act of courage you have had to make in your own life?
The biggest act of courage in my own life. Oh man, there are so many moments. One of them was telling the world that I'm black, I'm gay, and I'm Christian, and that I'm accomplished. And so being able, doing the work that I do, there was fear around if I am myself, then people will turn their backs, that I will lose business. Um, and those things are true. But the opposite is also true. When I stand in who I am, when I have the courage to stand in who I am and to talk about what I'm about and to stand for saving lives lost to loneliness, that will draw people toward me. It takes courage to stand in who you are. And I try to do that every day.
Hmm. Okay. How did growing up in poverty shape your understanding of success and self-worth?
Yeah, how did poverty shift my understanding of success? Um, you know, I have seven siblings, and we, in the sixth grade, we moved to a part of town that was impoverished, a part of town, where we lived next door to drug dealers. And I can remember that part in my life where I told myself that I was not going to live this way as an adult. In the sixth grade, I didn't have any control over that, but I made a promise to myself that I was gonna be successful. Now, in that moment, I didn't know how it was gonna happen. I didn't know what I was going to do, but that was always in the back of my mind. I knew that I would need to be the one to create success. It was not going to be handed to me. It was not going to be given to me. It had to be, I needed to create that. And so I moved in the world with that in mind.
Okay. You became a billionaire, yet you have spoken openly about loneliness. What did success fail to solve?
What has success failed to solve? Well, you said it, loneliness, right? So for me, money doesn't solve loneliness. My solution to loneliness is belonging. You see, one of the things I believe is a man has to feel comfortable with who he is, comfortable in his body, comfortable with who he is, because that will truly allow him to feel less lonely. And there are also, there are external factors that can help with that. Your people, places, and things that can contribute to the man feeling comfortable with who he is. But really, ultimately, it's up to each man to feel that and to create that, to find that.
What role does vulnerability play in effective leadership?
Vulnerability and effective leadership. That's a great question. One of the things I believe is nobody wants to follow someone who is perfect. No one wants to follow someone who has it all together. They want to follow humans. And I worked in the corporate space for over 20 years, and I learned that the more real I could be with my team, the better. Especially when I didn't have it all figured out. Especially when I didn't know what was going to happen. When I could be vulnerable enough to say that I don't know what's going to happen, but here's what I know right now, that people respected that, and people respected that, and they they honored that. They longed for someone like that, and so vulnerability is my go-to now, and I like it. It requires courage.
Okay. How can people overcome the fear of rejection when choosing to live authentically?
Yeah. How can someone overcome the fear of rejection?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to say you have to get rejected. So in order to overcome anything, you have to do it, you know? So if you have a fear of heights, what do? You go up high. If you want to overcome a fear of rejection, you need to go get rejected. Again, this requires courage. And so what I would tell your audience is don't wait to overcome rejection to get good at it. Go get
Hmm.
good at being rejected. This requires courage. Go do things that make you feel a little nervous, a little scared, and a little bit excited. And that's how I choose to live my life.
Hmm. Okay. How did hiding your identity for 24 years affect your mental, emotional well-being?
How did hiding for over 24 years affect my mental and emotional well-being? That is a good question. So when I was hiding, um, there were some habits I had because again, the for me, I didn't want to be found out. I didn't want my secret to be found out, and so some of the habits I was really good at steering conversation. So if a conversation was getting to where it was uncomfortable for me, to where my secret of being gay might be found out, I could easily steer that into something else. Um, so it was um, so having to always be worried about that. It did carry. There was some stress there around that. I was careful with how I walked, the things I said. Um, And so it was this sort of always on mentality, always thinking about, always having that mask on, walking around with that mask on, and having to play that part wherever I went.
Hmm. What was the biggest lesson you learned from losing friends and opportunities after embracing your truth?
Yeah. The biggest opportunity I've learned from losing friends and really standing in my truth, it's really what I've learned is you got to be you. You got to be you. And I've learned that if those friends walk away, if those opportunities are lost or are gone, they probably weren't for you anyway. And they're probably, if those friends walked away, they probably weren't really your friends anyway. And it's possible that if those friends and those opportunities left or gone or walked away, that maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing in the long run. Yeah, so I did answer that question, but can you ask it one more time, and I may answer it differently this time.
Okay. What was the biggest lesson you learned from losing friends and opportunities after embracing your truth?
Yeah, the biggest lesson I learned after embracing my truth was um, actually it feels good to be in my courage. It feels good to stand up and to say, "This is me," period. Knowing that I have no bearing on what other people will do. I have no bearing on the friends that will walk away, no bearing on opportunities that are lost, I have no bearing on any of those things. And so the only thing I can control is how I show up in the world. And so For me, it felt really good to be solid and clear and to own my truth unapologetically, and then to allow whatever is going to happen, and that requires courage.
Hmm. So, how can people build a genuine sense of belonging instead of constantly seeking acceptance?
Yeah, belonging instead of acceptance. Can you ask that question one more time?
How can people build a genuine sense of belonging instead of constantly seeking acceptance?
Yeah, a genuine sense of belonging instead of constantly seeking acceptance. Um, there's a difference between belonging and acceptance. Acceptance has to do with somebody else. Acceptance has to do with somebody else. Has to do with someone else. It's an external person. It's another factor. Belonging is you. Belonging is you accepting yourself. Belonging is you loving yourself. It's self love. It's self acceptance. Whereas acceptance um, is someone else accepting you. It's sort of like you a person walking into the room and sitting down at the table and wondering if they belong at that table, wondering if the people at the table will like them. That's acceptance. Belonging is sitting down at the table saying, "Oh, I belong in this room." And it's coming from that energy.
So, what does courage mean to you today compared to your earlier stages of your life?
Yeah. What does courage mean to me today? Courage means, I like the word courage. It has a root word of core, which means heart. And so the definition I love is to do the thing, whatever the thing is, with all of your heart, or to let's see, to do the thing with all of your heart, or to really trying to think of this second definition that I normally use. I just lost it. So core is heart, to do it with all of your heart. I don't know. I guess I lost the second one. So I guess the first one's gonna have to suffice for now. Courage to do the thing with all of your heart. So for me, that's what courage means. It means to if you say yes to something, for me to do it with all my heart. My mission is to it's an impossible mission to solve loneliness for 8 billion people. It's to do that with all of my heart and to invite people into that with all of my heart. And courage is really about having, it's about leaning into to things that, for me, that scare me, that make me feel a little bit scared and make me feel a bit nervous. It's about doing those things. That's what courage means to me.
So, how do you help leaders move beyond performance and into authentic connection?
Yeah, beyond performance into intentional connection. One of the things you spoke about earlier was vulnerability. For me, I do that by being vulnerable. Um, for me, it's also by sitting down and focusing on the person across from me, from seeking to understand them, who they are, what they're about, what it is they're saying. I may not agree with what they're saying, but I can still sit down and really seek to understand their viewpoint. And so to me, those are some important elements.
Hmm. Okay. What leadership lesson have you emerged from your most painful life experiences?
Yeah, leadership lesson from my most painful experience. Uh, Well, one painful experience I spoke about was growing up in poverty. And, moments like waking up on Christmas Day and looking under the Christmas tree and not seeing much in the way of gifts, and walking outside and seeing all, my neighbors playing with their new gifts and toys and not really having much. The pain of um, living in a high crime area. We had a house that was next to drug dealers, and so growing up in an area where there was a high police presence, where there was a certain way of thinking in the community that did not necessarily lend to growth and expansion. Um, and so some of those things have really been things that I've struggled with, and had I not experienced those, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. Did I answer that question correctly or thoroughly?
Yeah, yeah. So, uh, now to looking back, what advice will you give your younger self who was struggling with identity and belonging?
Yeah, the advice I would give my younger self is to keep going, is to be myself. Yeah, that's the advice I would give him.
Okay. So this will be the last question. Uh, just for the advice you have for our listener. So, if there is an accomplished man listening right now who feels isolated, unseen, or disconnected, what will you want him to hear?
Yeah, if there's an accomplished black man out there who's feeling isolated, disconnected, what would I tell them? So what I would tell you is go get help. Go you're What I would tell him is you are self-isolating, which means you are doing this to yourself. So get up, go find someone. Go find people. Go find someone to talk to. Get out there. Find a group. Find a community. Find someone to talk to about how you're feeling instead of trying to handle it all yourself and trying to do it all yourself. That is not what a man is. A man has the courage to go and find community, to go find someone to talk to about how he is feeling. So that's what I would tell any of your listeners who are struggling with that right now.
All right, thank you for your honesty, vulnerability, and willingness to have the conversation many people avoid. Your story is a
You're
powerful
welcome.
reminder that true success is not just about achievement, but about having the courage to be fully yourself. So, to our listener, thank you for joining us for this meaningful conversation. I'm still your host. See you on the next episode of Mind Over Habits.
You're welcome, Moses. Have a good day.